Would you rather be known as a businessman, a salesman, a motorcycle customizer? Are there one or two words which you prefer as a title to describe your occupation?
To describe my occupation, I would say motorcycle customizer.
According to the pictures on your store walls, your family originates from Oklahoma. Talk about this.
Well, half my family originates from Oklahoma. My dad's side of the family is from Oklahoma, and my mama's side of the family is from Irving, Texas. So Oklahoma has a soft spot in my heart because as kids, well, my brother and I are 11 months apart. I'm 11 months older than my brother. We've been best friends our whole lives. He's a big shot attorney in Houston, and during the summer, our parents would take us to Oklahoma and drop us off for the summer. So we always thought, hey, that's pretty good. Mom and Dad let us spend all summer at Grandma and Grandpa's house. They're getting rid of us for the summer. So we go to Oklahoma once a year to see kin folks and to reminisce. My cousin and I, she's right in between me and Rand. And so she flies from California to Dallas, and she and I get in an old pickup truck and go up Route 66 and go to Oklahoma and spend a few days reminiscing.
You got anything to say about your grandfather and grandmother?
Grandpa's the greatest man I ever knew. He was, he loved me and my brother, and you know, he was the county commissioner for Beckham County, Oklahoma. And he was just a really good man, and he died when I was 21.
Was he a farmer?
He was a farmer for years and years and years, and then he got the job offer with the county, so he sold the farm. I actually have the announcement out there hanging up on the wall where he was selling the farm and all the implements and all the stuff, and he gives a list of stuff he's selling, and it says the ladies from the church will be making lunch, you know, and stuff like that.
Did you ever wind up picking cotton?
No, I never picked any cotton. Baled hay, but never picked any cotton.
Okay, so why did you all land in Irving, Texas? Because of your mom?
Yeah. My grandma was here, my mom was here, and I've never lived outside Irving, Texas, me or my wife.
What did your dad do for a living?
My biological dad was construction, and my dad that raised me is a welder. Okay, so
they're both in the work world, pretty much, construction world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What were your hobbies, your interests, and how did you first gain an interest in motorcycles?
You know, my hobbies were always motorcycles. I loved motorcycles. My great aunt and uncle owned a ranch in East Texas, and they had some mini bikes out there, so I started riding mini bikes, and it just never left me. I just loved doing it, and you know, so that was always my hobby, was motorcycles.
Did you learn how to take a motorcycle engine apart and put it back together?
Oh yeah, you know, in the old days you did. I haven't done it in a long time, but in the old days you used to. You had to do whatever you could to keep the bike running.
Right.
I mean, it was, you know, you didn't have any money, and you were 14, you know, so something broke, you had to fix it. Same way with my brother's car. He bought him a car at 16 and kept locking up the motor. We'd rebuild it out in the driveway, try to get it done for Saturday night. Go cruising over on Forest Lane. Speaking of my brother, here's my brother texting me.
Say hi.
Hi. Hi, Rand.
So you know what's inside of a motorcycle?
Yeah.
You have you have pretty much basic knowledge of it.
Yeah.
You grew up with basic knowledge of it. You got most of your education from the Irving Public Schools.
I got all my education from the Irving Public Schools. That ain't much.
Oh. What was your impression of your schooling?
You know.
You're neutral on the subject.
Well, I enjoyed school. You know, I never applied myself. I wished I would have. You know, my brother was a straight A student. I was lucky to make C's. If I made B's, I was really happy. You know, but school was okay. I mean, I went to school every day. I wasn't one of the kids that skipped school and cut class and all that. I didn't do any of that. I went to school every day, and I came home every afternoon and messed with motorcycles, or, you know, back in before motorcycles, or when we were really young, we played football, baseball, basketball, skateboards, you know, anything we could do, we did all that. Forgot to turn your light on, huh?
Yeah. So you consider yourself not to be the greatest student in the world because you didn't apply yourself.
Right.
You know, well, that's typical, you know.
Well, but I wished I would have. You know, I wished I would have. I wished I would have taken school more seriously. I didn't really. You know, school was, you know, something you had to do till you could get home and get on your motorcycle, you know, or get home and see your buddies or something.
I know all about that.
Yeah, you were there with me.
What did you enjoy? Now, where did you go to high school? MacArthur High School.
You were there.
No, I was there.
You were there. MacArthur High School, 71 to 75.
What did you enjoy best about math?
We had a pretty good jukebox in the lunchroom. You remember when they put the jukebox in? Was that our senior year or junior year?
That was pretty close to the end.
It was close to the end. They put a jukebox. You remember at first they just had the cafeteria, but then they brought in where you could order like hamburgers and stuff. You remember? And then they put the jukebox in there. That was kind of fun.
That was nice.
That was nice.
Then they tore it out again here recently.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like much about school. I didn't dislike it. This wasn't my favorite thing.
You were there because you had to be.
I was there because they made me. My mama made me go to school.
So did you ever cause trouble?
No.
Okay.
No.
After graduating, what did you do? Did you have any plans? Did you go from one job to the next?
No, my brother went into the service, and right about that time, I went to work for the family business, which was Roach Paint Company, which was a paint supplier. So I went to work. My great uncle that introduced me to motorcycles at 7, 8 years old, he owned the paint company. And it was a Texas-based company called Roach Paint Company. So, and their factory was downtown Dallas in the old Alfred refrigerated warehouse. That was their plant and their corporate offices. So I got right after high school, I got a DUI, and I wrecked my truck, and so his wife, my aunt, picked me up and took me to buy some clothes. Back then, young people, back then, when you went to look for a job, you wore a suit and tie. You didn't wear blue jeans, you wore a suit and tie.
Right.
No matter, I don't care if you're looking for a busboy job. So she went and got me a suit and tie and got a haircut and went over and saw her husband, and she bought me that so I could go looking for a job. And he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, y'all just bought me a suit of clothes, and I'm going to start looking for a job Monday morning." This was on Friday. He said, "Why don't you come to work for me?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "How you going to get to work? You wrecked your truck." And I said, "I don't know, but I'll figure it out." And he said, he pitched me the keys to an old car, and he said, "This is an old retired company car. Just drive it." And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Do me one more favor." And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Get your haircut before you come to work." And I just got one like 2 hours before. And I looked at his wife, and she looked at me, and I said, "Yes, sir." And I got 2 haircuts in one day.
Okay. Well, that was nice of him to do that.
Absolutely it was. I worked there 20 years.
Well, did you receive any training to be a salesman?
No.
You just started doing it.
Well, I started in the warehouse.
Okay.
And, you know, so there we were pulling orders, you know, so you got this big, huge paint warehouse in downtown Dallas, and you had 30 stores. So every morning you got a big order from each store what paint they needed. And you would pull the paint that they ordered, put it on pallets, band it up, and the truck drivers delivered every day or every couple of days to the stores. And there was like 10 of us guys that pulled orders, so my goal was to be the best of those 10. And I did that and got to be the best of the 10. Then they moved me in the office, so now I'm the guy taking the orders. You know, you work at the Irving store and you need an order, you call, and I'm the guy that's taking the orders, giving it to the guys. And I did that really good, and then they moved me up again, and then they came in and they said, hey, why don't you go to one of the stores and work? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, where would you like to go? I said, well, if there's an opening in Irving, I'd like to go to Irving. That's where I live. He said, there's not an opening in Irving, but next one there is. And a couple of months later, they said we needed a driver in Irving. So I went to be the driver, so now I'm loading paint and delivering it to Fox and Jacobs, or, you know, the paint contractors.
Right.
So all I did all day long was load and unload the truck and deliver paint. And then I worked my way up from there to inside sales and the assistant manager, the manager, to I made the store the #1 store in the country, which was only 30 stores. Then I went into sales, and I was the #1 sales in the country, which is 30 stores. And then Glidden Paint bought us out, and then all of a sudden we're thousands of stores. So I went from store number 4, that was the number of the store was 4, to when Glidden bought us, I was store 836.
Ooh. Well, I remember Roach. Did your uncle become a multimillionaire all of a sudden?
No, not all of a sudden. He built his business. When he bought it, Roach Paint, it was one little store on McKinney Avenue, and he built the business. And he was on McKinney Avenue, had that one little paint store, and 2 guys moved in next door to him, and they were going to build homes. And they got to be buddies, and they said, okay, you know, we'll build homes, and you'll supply us paint for the homes. And, you know, they had these big dreams and all that. And turns out those 2 guys were Fox and Jacobs, which
I've heard of
the
them.
young people don't know. Fox and Jacobs, when we were young, was huge.
Yes.
They built a really big business, so as Fox and Jacobs grew, the Roach Paint grew.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, Fox and Jacobs got bought out years ago by Syntex Homes. So we sold a lot of paint to Fox and Jacobs.
So then Glidden became the owners.
Glidden became the owners, and I worked my way up to the #1 sales rep in the country for Glidden, which was up with thousands of people. And after 20 years, I had 12 years with Roach Paint and 8 years with Glidden, 20 years total. After 20 years, I retired to open Strokers Dallas.
Now, in the meantime, you got married.
Yeah, I've actually got married. I don't even know if you know this story. I got married right after high school to Susan Bessler.
Right.
We were married only a couple of years and divorced because her mother didn't think I was good enough for her daughter.
Oh.
Her mom was a big shot at Mary Kay, and I was just some long-haired guy working at the paint store riding motorcycles.
You sure you want to say that?
It's true. It's true. Her mother knows. And and me and her mother are great now. But, you know, nobody's good enough for your kids.
No.
You know, my daughter's married, and the guy she's married to is a great guy. He ain't good enough for my daughter, though. So we got divorced, and a few years later, I married a girl for 17 years, and Susan married a guy for 16, 17 years. And we both got a divorce within 6 months of each other. And her friend called me one day and said, hey, And I would still see Susan about once a year. She'd come into the paint store and get some paint, or I'd see her at, her kids and my kids went to school together. So at like open house, I would see her, and we would always say, hey, how you doing? And I'd hug her, and we were friends. And so her friend called me one day and mentioned that Susan was going through a divorce, or had just gotten divorced. And I said, well, I'm going through a divorce. And her friend said, well, you ought to call her. So I called her and asked her if she wanted to go to lunch, and she did. And next thing you know, we're remarried again, and that was 20 years ago.
Wow.
So we've been together, it's actually 19 years.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, so I introduced her one time when we first got remarried again. I said, this is my first and third wife, and she said, no, I'm your first and last wife.
Yeah. I remember she said that about her first and last husband.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's nice. That turned out, that's unusual,
It's meant to be.
Now, how did you figure out, before you opened this Strokers, how did you figure out that there was a market out there for what you had to sell?
Because I was that guy. I was the guy that was in the market. I was the guy that was, riding custom Harleys and looking for custom parts and looking for, services for custom motorcycles. And I just thought, what, it would be cool to have a custom shop, and you didn't just work on plain Jane Harleys, it was truly a custom shop. The Harley shops, they're like Frank Parr Chevrolet. They're gonna work on your Chevrolet, and if you want a K&N breather, they'll put that on there. If you want some custom work, guess what? Frank Parr ain't doing it. You got to go to Harry's Hot Rod shop, so I wanted there to be a cool custom shop that did cool stuff, and there wasn't one. So, and I wanted the beer joint next door to get people to come in and drink a couple of beers and eat a hamburger and hang out, listen to music, and have kind of a gathering spot for motorcycle enthusiasts.
Yeah. And when they're waiting on their bike that's being worked on.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have to borrow money to start this place up?
SBA loan. We got an SBA loan.
Right.
So I went to some different banks and applied for some different SBA loans, and none of them would pay me any attention. And then two people finally said they would. One was a customer of mine at Roach Paint. He or at Glidden. He owned a bunch of rent houses, and he used to buy paint from me, and he liked me. He was a banker. And so he came back and said, I'll give you the SBA loan. And my banker over at Southwest Bank, remember Southwest Bank? Right by Roach Paint over there in Plymouth Park?
Yes.
Southwest Bank said they would too. And so I decided to go with Southwest Bank, since that's where I had my relationship with anyway. And the banker there was a young guy. He was my age or younger. And he said, yeah, come on in, we'll talk about it. And he said, yeah, we need this and we need that, and put together a business plan, and we'll do the deal. He said, I just need one other thing. And I said, what's that? And he said, I need your dad to co-sign. And I thought, okay, I'm 30-something years old, because my dad had a bank account there for 50 years. And I said, okay. So I called my dad. My dad co-signed for me at 30-something years old.
Wow.
Got a 10-year note, and I paid it back in 7 years.
What was the name of your company when you first opened it up?
The company's always been RL Fairless Inc. And the reason I went with RL Fairless Inc. is because that's my initials, but it's also my brother's initials. Ricky Lee Fairless, Randy Lynn Fairless. So I just always thought that was cool. But when I first opened up, we were DBA Easy Riders of Dallas. And in 2002, I changed it to DBA Strokers Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a reason for that.
We were a franchise when I first opened. We were a franchise off of Easy Riders magazine. Well, after 6 years, the guy that owned the magazine decided he didn't want to do the franchise deal anymore. And it was good for me because we were paying royalties to him. And he said out of 30 stores, I was the only one that was consistently paying the royalties.
Wow.
So,
small wonder he got out of that.
yeah, so he got out of it, and I was scared to death, you know, because I've been Easy Riders for 6 years. Best thing ever happened.
How many family members do you have working here?
Well, my mom ran my bar for 15 years. My sister runs the bar now. My daughter, my youngest daughter runs the front counter. My oldest daughter works here part-time. She works for Gas Monkey full-time, and she works for me part-time. My wife runs the office. My brother-in-law runs, he's my IT guy. My niece works here at the bar. I think that's it.
Okay.
You know, I always have nieces and nephews and people that kind of come work part-time as they're teenagers, you know. My granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter's 9. I took her to birthday lunch the other day, and we're talking about her coming to work up here in the summers in a couple of years. Kind of a rite of passage. You know, you got to work in the family business a little bit.
Have any of your family members, have they worked on the motorcycles themselves?
No.
No welding or anything like that?
Not really.
Okay.
No. No, that's pretty specific. You know, so the people that I hire to do that are usually young people that have graduated from a trade school doing that. And if any of you young people have, if you think maybe college isn't for you, I would say that college is an awesome thing. But if you're not going to do that, go to a trade school. You know, I mean, if you like being an auto mechanic, there's trade schools. If you like being a motorcycle mechanic, there's trade schools. And, you know, I own a hot rod shop too, and I'm actually trying to hire, I need 2 mechanics for my hot rod shop, and I need 1 mechanic for my motorcycle shop. You know, I mean, and these mechanics make good money. They make good money.
Yes, they do. You have how many people working for you?
Pre-COVID or COVID?
Well, we're going to come out of COVID one of these days.
60.
60, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Right now-
between the companies that own.
Okay.
60.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
One time you told a story about one of your workers pilfering from your auto parts. Tell us.
Motorcycle parts.
Yeah, without mentioning any name.
Right. He was a parts guy, worked his way up to be a parts manager. Nice guy, we liked him. And I knew that he had served a little time in prison. That didn't matter, you know, I mean, everybody needs a second break, and he was a likable guy. And trusted him explicitly, you know, and he would, you know, he checked parts in and he would ship parts out to different places, and, you know, he was the parts manager. One day my wife said, Susan said, something funny's going on in parts, and I said, why do you say that? And she said, I don't know, there's just something funny going on. I can't pinpoint it. I didn't think much about it, and then about a month later she said, you need to check on something. And I said, what? She said, there's a lot of parts being shipped to an address in Irving. And I said, Irving? And she said, yeah. And I said, why would somebody, she said, I don't know, it's being shipped to an address in Irving. So we looked that address in Irving up. That was my parts manager's house, because he rode a motorcycle to work every day. So when he would steal stuff from us, he would package it up like it was a UPS and you know, to like he was shipping parts to Grand Rapids, Michigan or something, and he was shipping them to his house in Irving, where he was taking them and selling them online or wherever, and we caught him doing it.
You had to hire a private detective for that, right?
We hired a private detective for a similar deal like that. But, you know, the sad truth is, it's not unusual for people to steal. And what they do is, they justify it. They don't say, I'm stealing from this guy, and boy, I feel bad about it. I'm just, you know, I know I'm a crook. They don't say that. They justify it. I'm stealing from this guy, but it's okay because he pays the other guy more than he pays me. He doesn't do this, or he makes me come in on, you know, whatever. They justify stealing in their mind. They don't think they're a crook. They're taking, they're getting even. They're making, you know, they're making their own rules up as they go along to justify being a thief. So.
It's sad.
It is sad. And he went to jail, by the way, again.
You used to give his kid candy.
I did.
So how many businesses are here now?
I'm gonna say 5.
Okay. There's Strokers.
Motorcycle shop,
Okay.
barn grill, custom parts company, insurance company, and Big State.
Big State. Okay.
Big State is our diner over in Irving.
Right. What happened to the tattoo people?
Tattoo people was one of those stealing things, and I got rid of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a tattoo shop for about 10 years ago, and they beat it out of me. They beat it out of me.
So, do you sell online overseas?
We do. We sell a lot of stuff overseas. I just sold a T-shirt to a guy in Switzerland today. Just today.
Well, do you have to modify your motorcycles for overseas?
We haven't sold a lot of bikes overseas, a few, but yeah, you have to, they go through customs, but depending on which country it goes to, they know what needs to be done. So they'll tell you, hey, you know, take it apart to this level or whatever.
Now, the magazines, you write for magazines, right?
I do.
Now, who do you write for?
I write for MPN, Motorcycle Power Sports News, which is an industry publication. And I write for American Iron magazine, which is the largest selling Harley magazine in the world, but they just folded last month.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's 2 magazines.
2 magazines every month.
Did they pay you for that?
They do.
Yeah.
So writing is very therapeutic to me. When I write for the industry publication, my articles are letters to my mom in heaven. So they all start out, Dear Ma, I hope you're doing good up there in heaven. And, you know, I talk about things that are happening here at Strokers and things that are happening in the industry and things that are happening in my personal life. They're letters to my mom.
Well, you have a, talk about the Big State. What made you decide to set up Big State?
Big State is an Irving tradition since 1948. My parents used to hang out there, probably yours did too. And, you know, it was the drugstore in Irving that everybody went to. But during high school, it was a hangout for the high school kids in the 50s, because Irving High School was right over by Big State. And my dad said that the kids used to, after school, they would go to Big State and hang out. And I said, why? Because Big State's on the corner of Irving Boulevard and Main Street. Well, what he reminded me was Irving Boulevard used to be called, you remember?
First?
First Street.
Right. Yeah.
So he said all the kids used to run up and down First Street because it was, you know, Big State was on the corner of Main and First. And he said, so the kids they'd meet at Big State, and then they'd watch their buddies go up and down the main drag, and they'd drink a milkshake and eat a patty melt. You know, it was just, the drugstore was the hangout. And they'd only let 10 kids in at a time, but he said, you know, they'd go in and get a milkshake, and they'd all come back, or a Dr. Pepper or something, and they'd all come back outside and just hang out watching the kids leave with their hot rods after school. My grandma used to take me and my brother there, you know, and you had the little swivel stools that we still have. So she'd go get a prescription, and we'd say, can we get a milkshake? Can we get a, she'd say, yes, yes. And so she'd take us, we'd sit down. She'd put my brother on one side of her and me on the other so we couldn't wrestle. And we'd say, can we get 2 milkshakes? So she would get 1 milkshake and 2 glasses. You know, because we're 7. We'd say, Grandma, I want a chocolate, and he wants it. No, 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 no. We're going to split a milkshake. Okay.
Well, so you decided to buy it.
It went out of business, and we got sad and decided to buy it. And at some point, I'm going to sell it, but I want to sell it to somebody that'll keep it going. I have my hands full over here.
Yeah.
I have my hands full with the motorcycle shop and all that. We bought it almost 7 years ago to keep it alive. Well, the way I look at it is I've kept it alive, and you know, I want to pass the torch on to somebody younger that has the time to fool with it. You know, I don't have time to fool with it. We kept it alive.
You renovated it.
Renovated it, you know, let somebody else take it on and let it be their, you know, their deal.
Are you looking for a buyer right now?
Talking to a couple of people.
Okay.
You want to buy it?
If I had the money, maybe I would.
It's a full-time job. It needs to be, the difference is Big State needs to be an owner-operator. You know, I go over there every morning and count the money. Other than that, I'm there a few times a week. Maybe we eat lunch or we go in there, but we are not running the day-to-day operations. I have a manager that does that. And she does a great job. You know, my oldest daughter ran it for years. She did a great job. It needs to be somebody that owns it, runs it, that's there every day. And, you know, I mean, I make my living over here on Harry Hines. So I've had offers of people that want to buy it and turn it into something besides Big State. Not interested. Not interested. If it's the right deal, I'd sell it. I'm fixing to be 64. The COVID thing has completely changed things, you know, so all my focus is here on these businesses. My bar is actually closed right now because the governor's got the bars closed. So we filed some paperwork to change the license and try to get it back open. So, you know, I'd like to.
Can you open it back up as just a grill?
That's what we've applied for.
Okay.
Not just a grill, but a grill that sells 51% food. So we'll see. But yes, the answer is yes. It's going through the process because all the bars are trying to do the same thing. In other words, if you have a kitchen, you can change your license and be allowed to reopen under this COVID Act thing.
Why does it take such a long time?
Because every bar in the state's trying to do the same thing if they have a kitchen. And plus, you know, the TABC is the state's cutting money, you know, because the bar was closed for 3 months and then it's been closed for another month. Well, guess what? That's a lot of tax revenue that the state of Texas is losing on the taxes that all these bars pay. So I just heard today where the TABC is making all kinds of cutbacks and hiring freeze and stuff because they don't have the tax dollars from sales of alcohol coming in. So.
Well, I'll be glad when COVID is over with.
Yeah, me too.
Talk to me about the Fairless Insurance Company.
Fearless Services Insurance is, you know, we call it Fearless because that's my nickname. As you know, when you grow up and your name is Fairless, in school they call you Fearless Fairless. So that was always my nickname. So I did, years ago, to facilitate motorcycle sales, I opened a insurance company. Somebody comes in, you come in on Saturday afternoon to buy a bike. You want to finance it. I can get you financed, but you can't take the bike until you have coverage, insurance coverage. Well, there's no insurance companies open on Saturday afternoon. But if I sent somebody to school, they could be the insurance agent. So 15 years ago, I sent my daughter to school to be the insurance agent. So I would just do insurance if you bought a bike. That's all it was just to facilitate a sale. And then about 5 years ago, I work with Allstate. I build bikes for them for displays and stuff, and they said, why don't you become an Allstate agent and grow your business? And I was reluctant to do it, and so finally I checked into it, and they sent some people out to talk to me, and I decided to do it. We're still an independent agency, but 98% of everything we sell is Allstate. And it's going great. The company is growing and growing and growing and growing.
You're selling home insurance?
Yeah. Yeah, we saved a guy the other day. We bundled his motorcycle insurance with his homeowners and his pickup truck. I saved him $330 a month. And he said, that's exactly how much my Harley payment is, $330 a month. You're making my Harley payment for me, Rick. And I said, okay, there you go. And that's with Allstate. So you ought to let us look at yours.
Well, I might just do that.
But, and you know, Biggin, Lena, my daughter, she's one of my agents. She can look at it. And the cool thing is, they'll look at your declaration page. And if you're good, she'll look at it and say, Richard, you're good. You got good coverage at a good price. You know, you're good. You don't need us.
Okay.
But if you're not, sometimes people are undercovered. Sometimes they're overcovered, or they have coverage that they don't need, or sometimes there's stuff lacking. It's basically a tune-up. She'll look at your deal and tell you where you're at. She'll tell you if you're good or you're not good or whatever. You know, it's just an evaluation of your current situation.
Okay. So come in and see Lena.
See Lena, yeah, okay. My daughter Lena.
All right. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Now tell me about you said one time that if someone could bring in an ad to show a price on something, you'd match it.
Yeah.
In your parts department.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little harder to do with the internet. You know, I mean, what you're saying goes back 25 years, but it's still pretty true. You know, I mean, I've always said, even at the paint company, I'd rather make a little bit of money than no money. You know, so if somebody sees a price on some tires or whatever, most of the time I can match those. Sometimes I can't, because sometimes, you know, there's companies that their only business is tires, and they're online, so they're buying tires thousands at a time, where I'm buying them 4 or 10 or 20 or something. So, you know, they're getting a lot better deal than me. And the problem is, when you buy a tire online, sometimes you're getting a 20-year-old tire, which is not good. You're getting a discontinued tire, which is not good. So, and if you go to try to take it back or something, you're a lot of times not getting a very good deal. So, you know, I would rather do business face to face with somebody. And if I have a problem, I say, hey dude, come on now. What's the problem with this? This tire's 20 years old. What are you doing here? Try doing that with 1-800 number.
Can't do it.
No.
Television. You've been on the show, TV a lot.
Yeah, I've got a couple deals behind me there.
Texas Hardtails
and Ma's Roadhouse.
And those were your shows.
Those were my shows. Yeah.
Now, how long did Texas Hardtails?
They both ran a year.
A year, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I missed. Do you have the DVDs from Mall's Roadhouse?
I do.
Here?
No, I don't have the DVDs. They didn't make DVDs. We have a loop out front with some of the episodes playing. They sent me the episodes, but there's not DVDs.
Okay. All right. Well, I got the ones for Texas Hardtails.
Right. Yeah, they made DVDs on that one, but for some reason they never did on Mall's Roadhouse.
I guess everybody's going into streaming now.
I guess.
Well, and then I saw you show up one time on Texas Storage Wars.
Yeah.
Some guy brought a Chinese
Yeah.
motorcycle in for you to look at.
Yeah.
And I saw you one time on Biker Build Off.
Been on that a couple times.
How many other shows have you appeared on?
Gas Monkey Garage, or Fast and Loud it's called, maybe 5 or 6 times. Dallas Car Sharks once. Cake Hunters once. There was another big one I did. I did Job Swap twice. I did, I forget what it was called. There's a really popular show we did about people that were stealing from the company. I forget what it's called. I'll think of it in a minute. The cake show we did was pretty cool. I had a cake made, and I did a Studio 63, which was an auction house in Atlanta, where I went over and I took one of my custom bikes and they auctioned it off, and I taught the guy how to, I took it riding in the parking lot and was teaching him how about custom bikes and stuff. I don't know, it's been, and there's more than that. I've done more than that.
Well, now you have a radio show also.
Yeah, and we're doing a Facebook Live show, me and my daughter, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every day.
I caught you had an interview with
Herschel Walker.
Buford Pusser's nephew.
Yeah, Carl Pusser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell which was which, you know. I was looking at both of you, like, well, they look the same, you know.
Yeah, Carl Pusser.
Gosh. Traveling. You do a lot of traveling.
Not so much anymore. I'm not a traveler. You know, I go to Sturgis. I'm going to Sturgis next weekend. My daughter goes with me, so we go up there for that. Yeah, I go every year, and do a lot of industry functions up there. You know, I go to some of the major motorcycle rallies around the country, but as I've gotten older, I've tried to cut that back, because I guess it's, you know, you go to them and it's kind of all the same.
It's hard.
It is hard. It's hard to be away from home, and you know, I've got a business, a big retail business, so people come here from all over the country and even internationally. Well, they come in, they say, "Hey, is Rick here?" They'll call me and they say, "Hey, Rick, there's some people here from St. Louis that'd love to meet you." Well, I like to be here when somebody from St. Louis shows up, or Switzerland, or wherever. So.
Well.
Mystery Diner.
That's the name of it?
Mystery Diner.
Mystery Diner?
Yeah.
Is that where you had the cake?
No, that was Cake Hunters.
Okay.
Where people were. Mystery Diner, they come in and, you know, the premise of the show is you write the guy a letter and say, "Hey, I'm having some problems with people stealing, but I don't really know what's going on." So they come out and they put up cameras, and they put in, you know, fake employees that are watching over, you know, so it's that thing. Very popular show.
Did you catch the bad guy?
Yeah,
Oh.
we did.
Charity events.
Lots of them. Texas Scottish Rite Hospital is our charity of choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what have they done for you?
Nothing.
How about didn't you have a niece or something like
My
that?
niece was born with some spinal issues, and they took care of her, and my grandma loved Texas Scottish Rite Hospital, so I started using them as my charity of choice in my grandma's memory.
So you just say, hey, come on out here and we'll have a place for you. Have a lot of rides
We do.
for different.
We do, and a
events.
lot of people use my venue. They'll say, hey, we want to have a big charity thing. Can we have it at your place?
Right.
And the advantage of having a charity event here at Strokers is you not only bring in your people for the event and the people that you can entice into showing up, you also have my people that are here hanging out, drinking beer, listening to music to draw off of as well. So it's a built-in group of big-hearted people, bikers.
And you have concerts out here every now and then.
We have live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Well, this place is open
Every day.
every day, 8 days a week.
8 days a week.
Talk about Punch Wally.
Punch Wally Garage is the aforementioned hot rod shop. We work on classic cars. I'm not working on any new cars, with a couple exceptions. I'm not working on any foreign cars, with a couple of exceptions. But as a general rule, we're working on classic American-made cars, which I'm looking to hire a couple of technicians, by the way.
How's that doing?
It's doing wonderful.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. How long do you intend to keep on going with Strokers?
Till they carry me over on Irving Boulevard.
Who would take over if you,
My daughter,
your daughter?
Lena.
Okay.
Lena.
All right.
The reason I say carry me over on Irving Boulevard, that's where the cemetery is.
Right.
Oak Grove.
That's where a lot of people we know are buried.
My mom was buried there, and a lot of people I know is buried there.
I got a lot of friends over that way. You know.
I do too.
So, to wrap it up, I want you to look at the camera like you're talking to an MHS student and tell him what you think he or she needs to know about the world of work.
Nobody owes you anything. They owe you nothing. So if you've made good grades in school, that's awesome. If you didn't make good grades in school, that's okay. That's okay. It's about your work ethic. So a couple of things. If you think, well, I don't need to go to college, okay. Well, look at all the colleges there are in the country. Look at all of the kids that are in all of those colleges. You're talking hundreds of thousands. Every one of them's ahead of you if you don't go to college. Every one of those hundreds of thousands of kids are going to get a better job than you if you don't go to college. I didn't go to college, but I had a good work ethic. So if you don't go to college, I would encourage you to go to a trade school. And if you don't go to trade school, or if you do go to trade school, or if you do go to college, you go to college, that piece of paper is going to help get you a job. Once you start that job, that piece of paper is trash. That piece of paper is gone. It's how good of a worker are you? Or if you start out working in a paint warehouse like me, pulling orders, how good of a worker are you? Because if you're a good worker, you can write your own ticket. You can be as instrumental to the company as you want to be. You know, if you're just a guy that says, okay, I'm working from 9 to 6, I get there at 9, we go to lunch at 12, I come back at 1, I clock out at 6, and you're just one of the guys, guess what? You'll be one of the guys. You're never gonna make it to being anything but one of the guys. When I said earlier that when I used to pull the paint orders and there was about 10 of us, well, guess what? Some of those guys are still pulling paint orders. But they're happy doing it, and they don't have any motivation or any desire to do anything extra because it's too much work. Well, I wanted to be the best one of those guys. I wanted to make more money. I wanted to have a nice car. I wanted to have my own home. I wanted to have a new motorcycle. I remember telling my mom, if I can have my own home, where I own a home, and I own a pickup truck, and I own a Harley Davidson, I'll have made it. Well, I did all that by the time I was 25 years old. And guess what? I wanted a nicer Harley Davidson, and I wanted a nicer home, and I wanted a nicer pickup, so I just kept working harder and climbing the company ladder, and that's what you have to do to get someplace. I mean, you don't have to work hard and all that. You don't have to try to get someplace. We need people in the Jack in the Boxes. We need people in the Burger King drive-thru. So if you don't want to work hard, go get your job at the fast food place. That's where you're going to wind up. You don't want to wind up there. And there's nothing wrong with there. I worked there. Use that to go to the next level and the next level. I always said if I went to work for Burger King, in a year I'll run the place, and in 5 years I'll run a whole country of Burger Kings. And I'm going to make more money. The difference between you watching me and me is nothing. It's work ethic. If an idiot like me can be successful, anybody can. You just have to work. Don't be afraid to work. That's all I got.
You don't hear that very often.
It's work ethic. I'm telling you, it's work ethic. I live in a nicer home than I ever thought I would live in, and I own all kinds of motorcycles and all kinds of cool cars and trucks and things I never dreamed of owning. Well, I got it because I work hard. You know, and there's no difference between me and anybody else. Anybody can do what I did. Anybody can, and I want them to.
Okay.
Work ethic. Work ethic.
That's good to know.
Yep.
All right, Rick. Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Look forward to seeing this.
All right.